everyone, it's Raina. So I'm making a video about the solar eclipse that is coming up this Saturday, at least in America, on February 26th. And I believe Central Standard Time, at least, it is 8:58 a.m. I think that's correct. But in any case, this is going to be very interesting because the sun and moon are going to be in Pisces. And so that is very dreamy energy. And Neptune is in Pisces. And they are close enough in terms of degree points to actually be a conjunction. So that is very much a spiritual kind of a vibe that is going to be happening, that a lot of people are going to be experiencing. If you're born around that time, so it doesn't necessarily have to be the 26th. Depending on what year you're born, 8 degrees of Pisces might be the 25th even, or the 24th, I think sometimes it can be. So that's quite a solar return for you. And it's going to be heightened by a very contradictory energy, because right now we have Venus and Mars in Aries. You know, the first sign of the zodiac. We have Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, and Venus and Mars in Aries. And, you know, this cardinal fire sign. And Mars is going to be in conjunction at the exact same degree with Uranus, which is this planet that is kind of a wild card energy, you know, unpredictable, erratic, so to speak. And so that's very revolutionary to have Mars and Uranus, especially in this combustible Aries. And so what could that possibly mean? Well, what I think is happening, and this is already, I believe, happening, and maybe the people, the deep state, if you will, or the elite, who may be totally into some of these occult knowings like astrology, and maybe trying to use it to manipulate the masses, have been, you know, kind of, there may be a lot of deception happening on a global scale. You've probably heard the term fake news in recent months. And that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, because what can happen is having some kind of a narrative that is put out by quote-unquote reputable sources, and somehow it triggers people, not everyone obviously, but certain people, into acting out, because Mars in Aries in conjunction with Uranus is not only people that are acting before they're thinking, but they may be just reacting and not even having a particular goal in mind. They're just kind of like going off, being triggered, as they say. So you don't want to allow anyone to manipulate your mind. And part of the way that you can do this is by unplugging from the television, because I haven't watched television for almost 8 years now. Of course, I've seen it when I've been out and, you know, it's playing, but that's very rare that happens. And I know for a fact that once I unplugged from that, even though I was, you know, on the internet, and that is becoming more and more a tool of indoctrination as well, but at least you can direct your interests. You don't have to just accept whatever is being shown to you by the different networks. You have some control over it. But in the case of how it used to be, 2009, that it really, even though it wasn't like this heavy addiction, it still was such a part of my life that I felt like really that something was missing for a long time, because that's what it has done to the average person. And now I have no idea when they're talking about this show or that show, and I'm, very happy about that. So you can unplug from everything that calls itself news, and you can find your own sources of news that don't have corporate agendas and other agendas. And I know that some people may really think that a lot of this network news is accurate, and that's up to you. But I think that citizen journalists and alternate sources of receiving information is probably going to be closer to what is really happening. But yeah, so there's this push for independence, and yet we might be having the wool pulled over our eyes at the same time. Pisces can be very idealistic. Pisces can be very compassionate. And one of the things that is being done right now to manipulate people is to kind of tap into their compassion and giving them sympathetic stories in order to get them to agree to certain things happening. And the problem is that they're not, giving you the full scope of the issue, the cons in addition to what the pros are, but also why, these events have happened in the first place. And if people knew that, they would probably not be as easy to manipulate. But they don't tell you that part of the story. They just tell you about the end result of some of these issues. And it's important to ask questions. Pisces is a very trusting sign, to the point of being gullible. Now, this is an actual shadow aspect. The positive side of Pisces is being non-judgmental and being a loving person who wants to help heal humanity, someone who can be very gentle and creative and spiritual. And yet the shadow aspect is to be someone who feels victimized, who feels like the world is against them, like they were born with, 3 strikes against them. And this is the kind of manipulation that is also occurring, where people are being told that they're victims and to identify with various aspects of themselves that point to victimhood or that are treated like negatives that they can, feel sorry about. And while no one, I feel that no one should ever, feel bad if they feel like life is against them, because sometimes it can feel that way. I think that wallowing in self-pity is never an empowering behavior, that it will only lead to further disempowerment, and that you have to look for ways to feel strong and capable and independent. Being dependent, that's another shadow aspect of Pisces. And dependency is another thing that is encouraged by those who want to gain control over others. And these are things that we have to cultivate: resourcefulness, learning how to make the most of a situation. You get lemons, you make lemonade. And I really mean that. I love fresh lemonade, but the idea of not finding ways to feel sorry for yourself, because I'm seeing this more and more where they're trying to say, oh yes, you are oppressed, and I'm a woman and I'm a person of color, and I'm mixed, and but that's not me. I have mixed heritage. That's not me. That's an external thing. That's a superficial thing. it's like saying that I have dark hair. If you identify with these external labels, then obviously it's going to be harder to pull yourself out of that and see yourself as spirit soul, which is and a sovereign soul, really. So Pisces energy and Aries energy, can they coexist peacefully? Yes, they can, because, you know, Pisces softens the warrior-like aggression that Aries is known for. And Aries can be a little bit too pushy and too, you know, overbearing. And likewise, Pisces can benefit from the kind of the can-do spirit of Aries. Aries is a very self-starting type of an energy. And with Mars in conjunction with Uranus, people can channel that in a positive way to really start their own things that give them a sense of being free and strong. And yet at the same time compassionate and all that good stuff. So by the way, I just wanted to respond because I got a comment from somebody the other day. I should do a mailbag with all these quote-unquote interesting comments. And somebody said, well, it took you 4 minutes to get to the actual cards. And yes, I confess, I'm also an astrologer. I'm not just a card reader. And it's important for me to tell you about the astrological transits that impact a certain segment of time so that you can, you know, see if there are any connections to be made. Synchronicity between the cards and the timing issues astrologically. Astrology is one divining tool and the tarot is another. And it's interesting when both of them can intersect and kind of, I don't want to say validate the other, but at least complement one another. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking 3 cards from for this period, this new moon period, which is a very powerful new moon, being an eclipse. And in terms of intentions, Pisces is all about the spiritual, the immaterial. So it's not going to be like tangible things. It's going to be more of states of consciousness. So you might want to start some kind of meditation program if you've never done that before. Even Hatha Yoga, which is physical meditation, or physical, you know, the asanas, the positions, can be very good for you mentally, for your consciousness. It can help to calm you down if you feel like tense a lot. And like right now, even though it's not the official solar eclipse, it feels kind of like agitation. And maybe it's that Aries energy that is really, you know, usually during Pisces, I feel like a nice snug blanket. It feels really cozy, but now it feels agitating. So meditation can be very good for that. You might make set intentions about wanting serenity, wanting, you know, greater peace of mind, however you get there, or to banish addiction. You know, the 12th house can be addictions too. So anything that is self-improvement, I guess. So I'm going to pick 3 of my, I was going to say Rider-Waite deck, but actually it's Morgan Greer deck, tarot cards, and then I'm going to pick maybe a couple oracle cards from Keepers of the Light, or Keepers of the Light. It's this. And I'm going to pick a couple from here. I guess I could pick from this other deck I have too, but we'll see. I don't want to get too... Maybe I'll pick one from here and one from Ascended Masters. It might be a better thing. Okay, we got this. And I'm not necessarily... Oops. I got the wrong deck out here. I'm not necessarily going to consult the book, only because it's, I don't know. It seems kind of canned to do that. I wish they wrote the definitions on the cards. It would be easier. Oh, this is cool. I love this. Huh. I really love that. Radha. And Radha, I think Radha, Krishna Radha, I think that's Krishna's consort. I might have to look her up, though, because I like that. Anyway, so I picked 3 tarot cards. We're going to just go through these. The Justice card was very interesting because I get this feeling, just based on the news sources, the alternative news that I watch and read, that there is a lot coming out right now that is showing some of the underhanded dealings that have been going on that affect our society. Now, I'm speaking specifically of the United States because that's where I live. But a lot of times, this is one of the things that I think gets people into a negative loop, is that when somebody does something to you that is very upsetting, it's so easy to fall into that pattern of saying that it was unfair and feeling like you can't move forward in your life. And I had the very same thing happen to me years ago. Due to a work situation, and there was really nothing that I felt I could do, but time took care of it. And it wasn't by seeing the people who I felt wronged me leave that business, or go, maybe they didn't leave the company but they went somewhere else and I didn't have to see them after I quit. I didn't have to run into them anymore. It wasn't, that didn't work because it still didn't make what happened to me, the injustice that I felt. It didn't make that go away. The only way I was able to get over it was to allow time to do its thing. And eventually I saw that I was becoming very bitter over it. And I can honestly say now, and this has been almost 20 years since I started working there. It wasn't when I ended, but when I started working at this one place, that it was such a good thing for me not to be there anymore, and that they did me a favor by, in my mind, forcing me to quit under duress, because I would never be here today in this position. I would still be probably doing something that it was something I enjoyed doing, but it wasn't what I was meant to do, ultimately. And so the same may be true for you. And this may be a personal relationship with some of you, where you feel that this other person ruined your life, and that you had such a happy marriage, or you had, you know, everything was perfect. Why did they do this? Or maybe you feel like another person came in and took your partner from you. You have to understand that it doesn't work that way. Life does not work that way. It's a two-way street. I know it's easier to handle that because it feels like less of a blow, you know, to know that it's not your partner. It was somebody else who made it happen. But regardless of who did what, the point is that you are going to find one day, if you cultivate positivity, that is, that you are free from it, and that you can actually look back and you're not just faking it, that you actually feel grateful that it happened. It may take years. You know, I have Taurus rising. It's not easy sometimes to let go of something. And yet you have to understand that life is in divine order. No exceptions. Otherwise, we have a random, chaotic universe where things are just happening willy-nilly, and there's no rhyme or reason for them. And do you really want to believe that in life? I sure don't. So just consider that. If you're seeing something on the news and it seems like it's so unfair, realize that there's a reason for it. There's a cosmic reason for it that you may not understand at this point. And that one day it will become clear to you or to all of us of why this had to happen. And, you know, people, that's one of the reasons why I dislike when people cling too much to worldly justice. Because it really, the justice system can be very unjust. But not only that, it's not healing. It takes broken people and makes them even more broken. So it's something that needs a complete overhaul, because it's not you know, a rehabilitation center as it was meant to be. It's a warehouse. So so that's one theme of this that is coming up. And oh, you know what here you go. Pisces, the 12th house is Pisces' house, Neptune's house. And one of the institutions of the 12th house is the prison system. Okay. So just this may, you know, relate to you personally in some way. And just know that whatever's going on in your life, that, you know, do not suffer from a sense of injustice in life. You know, realize that there's a reason why things are happening. Yeah, you know, going back to what I was saying about that manipulation, a lot of people want to tell you that we have to right certain wrongs that have been done to certain people because they were not born in a certain way. Well, you know something? They were born the way they were for a reason. I think, at least. And so it isn't up for anyone else to determine if somebody is supposed to be born into one situation versus another. To me, that's rather short-sighted. Even though it looks bad on the surface, it doesn't mean that that wasn't exactly what that person's higher soul wanted for it. So, you know, never suffer because of a supposed injustice. You have no way of knowing if it wasn't right on time, you know, on a different level. And then we get the Ace of Cups, which can mean the start of a love, you know, and as I say, Venus and Mars are both in Aries. Aries is, to me, like an ace because it's the first sign. So this is like a very, because Aries is in Venus is in Aries, it's not as lovey-dovey as this card depicts, because this is like a water sign type of energy. So this would be more like maybe a Cancer or Pisces. You know, there you go with that Pisces again, or Scorpio. And I didn't say too that Chiron is in Pisces. I mean, Pisces is in Chiron. No, yeah. Chiron is in Pisces, and Pisces, Chiron is a sign. It's not. It's like an asteroid, and they call it the wounded healer, and it deals with karmic issues. And Pisces is a karmic sign, so we have a karmic planet, karmic asteroid, or heavenly body, let's say, in a karmic sign, and this love relationship that may come in for some people, maybe that is almost like a soulmate type of relationship as well, because it's happening during this time. I think also it's just, remember too that this is a very powerful new moon. So whatever thing you start at this time, whatever seeds that you plant, they can be things that touch your soul on a deep level and make you feel like, you have a true mission in your life. Like not just things that feel good, but things that, where you feel like you're being divinely guided. And this could be in the form of a relationship. It could be in the form of a child, whether you bear a child or you take in a child. Any type of relationship where you connect with another person on the soul level is indicated. So that's beautiful. And that's pretty Piscean. And then we have the World card. And this is a card also of, this could be of travel. And so this could be speaking of our global community, the way that we touch one another. When I'm communicating with people from around the world, it feels so expansive. Even though we're not actually physically in one another's country or seeing one another face to face, there still is a feeling of excitement and expansion and stimulation. But this is also a card of closing a chapter in your life. And that's what I feel like with this new moon, or if you want to call it a solar eclipse, which is more, which is a better description of it, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. And so even though it's a new moon in Pisces, it's a new moon in the 12th house. And in late March, the 27th to be exact, there's going to be a new moon in Aries, and that's the first new moon of the astrological calendar. So that is more of a beginning. This is like a new moon in the last house. So that is the World card. It's like you're closing one door and you're opening another. And it's like, who knows what will come about? There's a sense of wonder. There's a sense of anticipation. And it's really a beautiful thing. Okay. So the card associated with, now this is actually the Keepers of the Light, I think, yeah, is the Teacher card. And what I would say about this card in terms of this reading is to open your mind enough to accept lessons from wherever they come about. One thing that really, makes me pull out my hair is when adults think that children don't have anything to teach them. And I've never had children, but there are people that think that the older you are, the wiser you are, and that children should be seen and not heard, and that they have, they basically have this idea that children do not possess anything worth listening to. And it's not malicious that they feel that way. It's just that they have a hierarchy. And, we know that. We know that there are pecking orders in society, that people deem certain people more knowledgeable and whateverable than other people. And so anyone can be your teacher. There's a saying, and I don't know who said it, that said, "Every man is my teacher, and that I may learn from him." And I think that is such a great saying. A child can teach you something about something. And it can actually be very humbling to be schooled by a child. And they may not even have a clue that they're doing it. But we need to keep ourselves open to all possible ways that the universe is trying to, create expansion within us. And sometimes it comes from chance encounters that you have that kind of, give you a different perspective on life. That's one of the reasons why really enjoying being with people from different walks of life, I think is so stimulating. Not because you're being politically correct, but because they're coming from different life experiences, and none of them are not valuable. So it's important to cultivate those kinds of experiences so that you can get input from different people. Don't, put down somebody because they have a different political philosophy than you do, and you feel that they are the ones that are closed-minded. Because if you tune out somebody and judge them as closed-minded, then you're, doing exactly what you claim that the other person is doing. And I think that nowadays there is this kind of, I don't know if you'd call it an agenda, I think is correct, where people are trying to hide behind their certifications and trying to make you believe that they have all the answers because they have the proper degrees and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that you should never take that into account, but definitely do not allow yourself to be fooled in thinking that only people with degrees have anything worth telling you or teaching you about life. Credentials, proper training. In some cases, it may be absolutely crucial that you deal with people with proper training, but not in every single case. And so that's an interesting thing as well. And the final card I got was Radha, Soul Flame, and it says below, rediscover a lost part of yourself. Experience relationship, harmony, and healing. Keepers of the light, and this is the Ascended Masters. The teacher card was the Ascended Master. Yeah, she's the twin flame of Krishna. So, I was talking about twin flames. I've been talking about them lately because I still don't know too much about them, and I haven't really, devoted myself to watching maybe some videos on it or reading some literature. My understanding is that a twin flame is actually the soul split into more than one part, and it's like reunification with your whole self. And so until you get that reunification, you don't feel quite whole. And I mean, it's just like very popular. If I wrote twin flames on here, I'm tempted to, because I'll just like clean up, in terms of viewership. It might be like cool to do it, not just so I can get views, but just to see if I'm proven correct. So maybe I'll do that. Because we did get the Ace of Cups. So some of you might meet your twin flame. And it's interesting because with all this Piscean energy, that's right up the alley of Pisces, is to, Pisces is past lives. And also the intuitive ability to kind of suss out who is your twin flame and who isn't. But I have said to exercise caution in embracing this concept in terms of your relationship, because you never know if you just have a really dysfunctional relationship, because they say that twin flame relationships can be very challenging. So we shall see. We do have Venus retrograding on March 4th, so it's going to be happening in the near future. So all of this, the retrograde could bring people from the past. Well, past lives are the past, aren't they? And that person could be your teacher. Even if it's a problematic relationship, some of the most problematic relationships can be your greatest teachers, can't they? But I don't know if I would seek out that type of thing. I think it kind of seeks you out, because sometimes relationships are just toxic, and they should be, I feel like they should be ended, because they end up, draining people. I think you have to exercise caution in, you know, deciding whether something is a twin flame or whether it's something that is just toxic, and maybe it is a past life connection, but you know, the goal is to get away from that toxic relationship, and maybe you haven't been strong enough. Maybe you've been easily manipulated in multiple lifetimes to continue on with this toxic relationship. So it all depends, I suppose, on the individual. But I found that very interesting that I picked that card, Radha. And I didn't know she was the twin flame of Krishna, but they call her the consort because it's like they're two peas in the pod. So anyway, you guys, I know this is kind of an offbeat type of a solar eclipse reading, but I hope that at least some of you enjoyed it, and take care of yourselves. Bye.